How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at The Call. This is from 2020 and is directed by Timothy Woodward Jr. and stars Lin Shaye, Tobin Bell, and Chester Rushing. Now, I do want to say, quite confusingly, the Call is a really simple title, and in turn, this is definitely not the first movie to use it. There was that Halle Berry movie out from like 10 plus years ago, but also another movie called The Call that came out on Netflix the very same year. So you can't even type in The Call 2020. You have to type in The Call Lin Shaye, to get this movie. The one on Netflix looks interesting. I believe it's a Korean horror film. I'll probably check that one out, but today we're talking about the Lin Shaye one. Anyway, I had heard a little bit of buzz about this. Obviously, you do a horror movie with Lin Shaye from Insidious and Tobin Bell from Saw. Yeah, those are actors that we horror fans love, and it's cool to see them in a movie together. I had heard a little bit of buzz about this. I'd been wanting to check it out, and I finally found the Blu-ray for a really good price. I found it's in the Walmart's $5 bin. It actually rung up for $3.75. Absolute steal. I got really lucky there. And I checked it out, and it was pretty good. Not perfect. I'll elaborate on that sooner, but the biggest pros, obviously, Lin Shaye and Tobin Bell are classic horror actors for a reason. It's always great to see them and stuff. Both of them really, really good. I mean, the other actors are good too, but so good to see them there. And yeah, okay, it is the kids' movie first and foremost, but still, really good to see these two. Also, I really liked the cinematography. It had that kind of glowy thing, where it was like you're in an old, dark, haunted house, but you have a lamp, and the wood is all nice, old, polished wood. So that kind of mostly shadows with some light going into it. You get scenes that take place at a carnival and a scene in an arcade, and this whole glowy look really works well there. And then when you go into the ghost dimension, amp up the gels, make it a little crazy, the movie looks good. So I really did like that, but it doesn't quite work. I don't want to say it's bad, because it's not a terrible movie. I kind of think of this as a B-side, but an enjoyable B-side. The thing is, the plot and the concept are a little bit clunky, especially towards the end of this movie, and I'll go into that. I'll try to describe it without spoilers. And also, the ghost world, I mean, it's cool. It's clearly, especially with Lin Shaye there, reminds you of The Further from Insidious, and The Further was just so much cooler. I think there's a deal where it doesn't quite have the right, build up and release of tension. You kind of got to feel on edge and scared and like you could die at any moment. And here it's just kind of a swirl of cool imagery and jumpy scare type. I don't want to say it's super jump scare heavy, but it's just kind of, it doesn't have the right tension, So the ghost world's cool, not as cool as The Further. So yeah, it's not super scary. The plot's a little clunky. Not the best thing ever, but hey, two classic actors, great cinematography, and it's not terrible, but it just doesn't 100% work, So it's a good B-side if you can, like I did, find it for really cheap, or if it pops up streaming somewhere. It's worth a watch. Just don't expect the world, Anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that plot. I'll be avoiding major spoilers. I do want to focus primarily on setup, but I will take a few moments here and there to do analysis and, kind of break it down a little bit. So into the plot we go. we open up with the new kid. And the new kid, when he goes to school, he meets a girl who seems to be really into him, and he starts to form this pretty quick friend group. Main guy, girl, and the girl's ex-boyfriend, who's kind of a jock, and the boyfriend's brother, who's a little bit of a nerd. They hang out at a carnival, and as I said earlier, it looks really cool, and we get some downtime with the characters, and it almost has a Lost Boys vibe. And then we have to leave the carnival because it's not what the movie's about. Man, okay, the carnival, it's so cool that it's distracting. It's like, I just want to stay at the carnival, guys. Do we have to go? You know, so I wish this was more of a haunted carnival movie. Rewrite it where Lin Shaye's a carny and they can stay there. Whatever. They eventually do go to Lin Shaye's haunted house, which, okay, that's cool too. Maybe I don't mind. I just got a little hung up on the flashy lights of the carnival. They go to Lin Shaye's house, and the girl's like, we're gonna prank her. And the guy's like, what's going on? Why are we throwing rocks at her windows? Because she killed my sister. Okay, that's a reason. It turns out that Lin Shaye used to own a daycare, but the girl's younger sister never came home. They suspect that Lin Shaye either kidnapped her or killed her, but they don't know. And in turn, they couldn't prove that she did anything, but the girl's missing, so business is shut down. So no prison, but shut down. And Lin Shaye shows up and yells at the group of kids, and I really have to say, I do like this starting relationship. Lin Shaye is threatening. Good performance there, but you don't know if she did it or not. And that's such a hard balance, to be threatening, but to not feel 100% like this lady's a killer and still have that doubt in your mind. Good work from her. And you don't know. Is she a killer / kidnapper? Was it just some accident? Did someone else get the girl? Did the girl just wander off on her care? Or maybe she's innocent, you know? So you don't really know how big a hold she had during the event, and you don't know how evil she is, but you still get the feeling she's threatening. Also, so many dumb kids in horror movies just play pranks on old people and come off as jerks, but when the main girl says, killed my sister, okay, I see why we're throwing bricks in her window. That, you would be upset about that, and you'd get people, your friends, the new guy, you know, you get why they would come along even though the new guy doesn't participate. You know, you get the anger there. It's understandable. Well, eventually, the four of them get a call from Tobin Bell saying to come to the mansion because, well, as Tobin Bell's one to do, he wants to play a game. Of course he does. Turns out Lin Shaye has died, and in her will, she left a very specific set of circumstances to give these kids money. I think it's like $10,000 or $100,000. A ton of money. So you have my attention there. He has his whole house rigged up. I guess in his past life as Jigsaw, he got really good at rigging up machinery. Basically, on a timer, a door is going to open. One kid at a time will go through the door into the second floor. And in the second floor, in a back room in a study, there's a phone. They pick up the phone, they call a number, and that number takes them to another phone that is buried with Lin Shaye. And her ghost is supposed to answer the phone, and if you can stay on the phone for 1 minute, you win the money. The kids go out a back door and they meet Tobin Bell in the backyard, so the kids in the front of the house don't know who made it, and if something mysterious happened, they would never know. And the best part is if your friends chicken out, you get their money divided amongst the winners. So really, if all your friends are chicken, you can walk away with a ton of money from this. I do kind of wonder what it'd be like if like the first guy won and he has to hang out in the backyard with Tobin Bell for like an awkward amount of time. That'd be weird. But anyway, so the door opens and the first of the kids goes through, and we see that it's not really as simple. Well, first of all, the walk through the second story, that's fun. Creepy haunted house stuff, good atmosphere. It's scary before they even get to the phone. Second, though, obviously it's going to be more complicated than a 1-minute phone call. If this was a movie about 4 1-minute phone calls, the movie would be probably about 10 minutes long tops. So when they pick up the phone, they have a conversation with Lin Shaye, and then they are pulled into the ghost world. In the ghost world, stronger, Argento Insidious lighting, and you get like a nightmare version of the second floor, which is cool, but will transition you in and out of what I call tragic backstory land. And don't get me wrong, tragic backstory adds to the character. We get to flesh them out and see what they're about, and it adds to the plot, and you know, it's interesting to see all the characters' tragic backstories, but I don't know, something wasn't quite working about it, where like halfway through the movie, the back of my head, I'm like, and into the tragic backstory you go. So yeah, I don't know. I think if it was mainly the second floor of the house, that would establish a key location. It would establish a cool, creepy place. And then if it faded kind of more subtly into the tragic backstories and we got like clues about the past instead of a direct flashback sequence, I think that would have worked a little better and it would be more ambiguous. I don't know. So you get a phone call, you go into tragic backstory land, and it's gonna feel like more than a minute to you, because ghost time doesn't work the same as our time, and the characters are going to go up one by one and see if they can survive. And there's some interesting moments. It is kind of creepy, and even just hanging out in the front room is creepy, because the house is creepy. It's a cool haunted house. Like it there. But yeah, let's talk about problems. The movie is kind of clunky. We get the first two kids that go up. The brothers, the ex who's a jock, and the younger nerdy brother. And the thing is, they have the tragic backstory of the abusive father. And the problem with this is weight versus relevance. Tragic backstory of messed up father, a ton of weight. Relevance? Very little. These two are essentially cannon fodder characters, but when you introduce this whole plot with this big bad father, and then it doesn't really matter too much in the end, and it's like, okay, you two are done now, this whole big story, that's gone away, now we're gonna focus on the last two. That's kind of weird, you know, and if they had made them not brothers, and in turn we could have had a different story in the middle, that could have chopped things up a little bit, but having the two of them do this communal backstory of this big thing, and then having it not matter, that's a little clunky. But then we gotta get to the main guy. And the main guy, I want to make it clear, I'm not criticizing the actor or his performance. The actor does a good enough job, but this part should have been cut. The thing is, he goes in there and he has to be the good person, right? He's your protagonist. But we quite quickly find out that the bully, even when he's at his worst, does have a sympathetic backstory, and he's really not that bad, or even before we know it, not that obnoxious. So we don't really need the good the good character, you know, we don't really need the good point of view character, and he's also there for exposition. You know, you have the new kid, and you can start telling the new kid things. This is the witch, this is why we hate her. But if maybe you showed and didn't tell, you could, you know, not have to have exposition. Maybe the opening scene of this movie could have been the older sister getting home and her younger sister's not there, and the mom goes, "Where's your younger sister?" That could have, showed you a lot of what happened without having to tell us through the new kid trope. The thing also is, he doesn't have much to do with it, so they're like, Tobin Bell's like, you only tormented my wife a little bit for one day. You still have to play my game. He doesn't have much to do with it. And also, tell me if you see this coming. You have a main character and a final girl in a setup that is clearly a one-person game. How do you incorporate both your main characters through the whole movie's climax when it's a one-person game? Yes, you make it a little clunky, because it really shouldn't fit, and we're trying to do it anyway. So yeah, the main guy just doesn't fit, and the solution really is, cut out the main character, make your final girl the main character, and I would also say, instead of her ex-boyfriend, change it where it's her brother. If it's the story of 3 siblings instead of 2, the abusive father thing that had so much weight and then doesn't matter can carry over throughout the whole story. And hey, it ties all the characters together because it's, if they're all siblings, they all work, the whole plot flows through. It just works so much better if you make her the sister and you cut out the main guy. And that would fix everything. It's just, yeah, trying awkwardly to write the main character into the end of the movie where he shouldn't be in a one-person game, and the fact that he has nothing to do with anything and he's just there for people to tell the plot to, yeah, it just doesn't quite work. So the plot is clunky, and it's not the scariest thing ever, but I did like the cinematography. I love the sets. And also, Tobin Bell and Lin Shaye, classic actors for a reason. But yeah, we can't deny that this movie just doesn't 100% work. But it's still fun enough. Which is why I say it's a B-side, but an enjoyable B-side. So I had fun with it. If you can track it down easy, streaming or finding the DVD cheap, I'd say it's worth checking out. But yeah, don't go in with super high hopes. Don't go super out of your way to see it. But if you can, it's worth a watch. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. I'm not quite sure what this will be yet, but it'll be something related to these movies. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. If you want to see more, relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.